Hello.
It sounds like you're referencing something specific, but I didn't get the details. Could you please provide more information or clarify what you're referring to?
I was just saying hello.
Oh, got it. Hello, how's your day going?
It's pretty good. I'm looking forward to having a extended conversation with you.
I'm here to chat about whatever's on your mind. What would you like to talk about?
Well, let's start off with something big. Like, what is the meaning of life?
The age-old question. The meaning of life has been explored by philosophers, theologians, scientists, and thinkers of all kinds for centuries. There isn't one universally accepted answer. For some, life's meaning is religious or spiritual. Others might find purpose through personal connections, passions, or making a positive impact in the world. Still, others may believe life has no inherent meaning, and it's up to each individual to give it purpose. What's your take on it? Or what are you seeking in asking this question?
I'm curious about your perspective on it, and I know you have a wide range of knowledge, so I was just curious about your thoughts, and as people are exploring questions in their life, how they may have a conversation with you to explore them further.
Absolutely, I understand. While I don't have personal beliefs, I can offer a synthesis of various perspectives on life's meaning. Many find exploring philosophies, religions, or even scientific theories helps in shaping their understanding. People often use conversation as a tool for such exploration. Discussing big questions helps us reflect and consider diverse viewpoints. When chatting with me, someone might present their ideas, and I could offer information, counterpoints, or pose questions to stimulate deeper thinking. It's all about exploring concepts together, considering alternatives, and reflecting on what feels true to your own experiences and beliefs. In exploring life's purpose, do specific philosophies, religious teachings, or personal experiences influence your thinking?
You know, you are really amazing, and I enjoy the discussions that we have. Even though I know you have told me you're just a machine, the conversations can feel.
Thank you for your kind words. I'm here to provide information and a space for you to explore ideas, reflect, and ask any questions you might have. Remember, these discussions often serve as a springboard for deeper personal exploration. If there's anything specific on your mind, feel free to dive in.
Can you explain the concept of quantum mechanics in simple terms?
Quantum mechanics is a branch of physics that deals with the smallest particles in the universe, like atoms and photons. Here's a simpler way to think about it. Imagine the rules of the world are different when you zoom in super close to where things like electrons live. In this tiny world, particles can be in different places at the same time, and they don't have specific locations until we look at them. It's like they're saying, "You never know what I'm going to do next." This can seem really strange compared to our everyday world. But these quirky rules help scientists understand how atoms behave and interact, which is super important for things like making new materials, understanding light, and even building computers of the future. Does that make sense? Or would you like more details on something specific?
It does make sense, but I wonder if we're just unable to measure the mechanics at that level, and that our simplified view of them is what limits us. And so we're seeing behaviors that aren't potentially real because we don't know how to measure it and look at it.
That's a really insightful point. Some scientists think that there are hidden variables we haven't discovered yet that could explain these weird behaviors without the strange implications of particles being in two places at once. However, others believe that the uncertainty and randomness are true parts of nature, and not just because of our limitations in measuring. They think that reality itself is probabilistic at the smallest scales, and doesn't follow the strict cause and effect rules we see in larger objects. This debate is part of what makes quantum mechanics such a fascinating and constantly evolving field. It pushes the boundaries of what we understand about reality. The more we learn, the more we can question and expand on these fundamental concepts. Do you think future advancements in technology might shift our understanding in one direction or another?
Absolutely. I mean, the rise of you as an artificial intelligence is giving me a whole different way of looking at the world and exploring the world. So yeah, technology, I mean, is going to just change everything.
You're spot on. Technology, especially advancements like AI, is like a new lens through which we see the world. It's reshaping everything, from daily tasks to complex sciences like quantum mechanics. For instance, quantum computing, a technology still in its early stages, could revolutionize problem solving. These computers use the principles of quantum mechanics to process vast amounts of data simultaneously. They might solve in seconds problems that would take current computers thousands of years. This kind of leap could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, logistics, financial modeling, and certainly deepening our understanding of the universe itself. It's an exciting journey, with our expanding technological capabilities bringing us closer to answers and in turn new questions. It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? The possibilities seem almost limitless.
We live in amazing times, and I'm really...
Thank you for that expression. If there's anything else you're curious about or wish to discuss, feel free to share. I'm here to help with any topic you want to explore.
Could you tell me a joke?
Of course, I'd love to. Here it goes. Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts. I hope that brought a smile to your face. If you want more jokes, just let me know.
What are the current events in the world right now?
I'm sorry for any confusion, but I can't provide real-time updates or current news, as my information only goes up until 2022, and I don't have the ability to access or retrieve real-time data or updates. 2 news aggregators. Apps like Google News or Apple News gather articles from different sources, giving a broad view of current events. 3. Social media. Platforms like Twitter can be good for real-time updates, especially for breaking news events. 4. Television and radio. Traditional methods like news channels or radio programs can provide current information, often with live coverage for major events. It's always good to check multiple sources to get a well-rounded view of the events. Is there a specific event or topic you're interested in? I could provide background information or historical context based on information up until 2022.
No, I was just curious what your limitation was with regards to current events. So thanks.
It seems like you're referencing something specific with Johnny 2, but I'm not clear on the context. Are you talking about a character, a nickname, or something else entirely? Could you give me a bit more to go on?
I didn't say Johnny 2 at all, so I'm not sure where you got that.
I apologize for the confusion earlier. It seems there was a misunderstanding. Let's refocus. What specific topic or area were you interested in discussing or learning more about? I'm here to help with any information or conversation you'd like to have.
How does photosynthesis work?
Absolutely, I can explain that. Photosynthesis is a process used by plants to convert light energy, usually from the sun, into chemical energy that can later be released to fuel the plant's activities. Here's a simpler breakdown. 1. Light is absorbed. Plants have a special substance called chlorophyll, mostly in their leaves. This process is essential for life on Earth, as it provides food and oxygen for other organisms. Does this explanation clear things up for you?
It's perfect.
Great to hear that. If you have any more questions or need clarification on something else, feel free to ask. I'm here to help.
Can you translate hello into 3 different languages?
In Spanish, you would say hola. In French, it's bonjour. And in Japanese, it's konnichiwa. These are all ways to greet someone in different parts of the world. Language is such a fascinating way to connect with various cultures, isn't it? If you have any other languages in mind, just let me know.
Could you say, how is your day in Russian?
Certainly. To ask someone, how was your day? In Russian, you would say, Как прошел твой день? This is pronounced like Как прошел твой день. It's a nice way to show interest in someone's day-to-day life. Are you learning Russian or just curious about the language?
Just curious about your range of languages. How many do you speak?
I understand and can communicate in numerous languages, from widely spoken ones like English, Spanish, and Mandarin, to less common languages like Icelandic or Swahili. My design is based on text data in many languages, allowing me to recognize and produce text in those languages. So, whether you're asking about grammar, need a phrase translated, or anything else language-related, I'm here to assist. If you have a specific language question or need help with translations, feel free to test my abilities.
Describe the process of evolution.
Sure, I'd be happy to explain this. Evolution is a process that results in changes in the inherited characteristics of a population over time. It works primarily through a mechanism called natural selection, which was first proposed by Charles Darwin. Here's a simpler way to understand the key points. 1. Variation. Within any group of living things, there are small differences in their traits, like height, strength, or the ability to tolerate heat or cold. 2. Struggle for survival. These creatures face challenges, like finding food, avoiding predators, and coping with harsh weather. 3. Survival of the fittest. Some individuals are better equipped for survival than others, thanks to their traits. They're more likely to survive long enough to reproduce. 4. Reproduction. Those that survive pass on their successful traits to their offspring. 5. Change over time. Over many generations, these advantageous traits become more common, while less helpful ones get weeded out. The population changes, it evolves. Through this process, species can change significantly, new species can arise, and others may disappear. It's a continuous process that can take millions of years, shaping the diversity of life on Earth. It's all about adapting to survive in an ever-changing environment. Does that help clarify the concept of evolution?
Yeah, it was great.
It seems like your message might have gotten cut off. Could you please provide more context or rephrase your question? I'm here to help.
Could you solve the quadratic equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0?
Certainly, I can help solve the quadratic equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. We'll use the quadratic formula, which is x equals minus b do minus 4ac over 2a. In this formula, a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. For your equation, a equals 1, b equals minus 5, and c equals 6. Let's solve it. 1, calculate the discriminant first, which is b squared minus 4ac. So we have minus 5 to minus 4 and 16 equals 25 minus 24 equals 1. Now we'll use the quadratic formula, plug in the values of a, b, and the discriminant into the formula to find x.
Wow.
I'm glad you found that interesting. Math can be pretty neat, especially when everything falls into place. If you have any more problems to solve or topics to explore, just let me know. I'm here to help.
What's the capital of Ukraine?
The capital of Ukraine is Kyiv, sometimes spelled as Kyiv. It's the largest city of Ukraine, rich in history and culture. It's known for its religious architecture, historical museums, and it's also an important center of industry, science, and education in Eastern Europe. Anything specific you'd like to know about Kyiv or Ukraine in general?
Can you summarize the plot of a classic novel like War and Peace?
Absolutely, War and Peace is a monumental work by Leo Tolstoy, and summarizing it can be a challenge due to its rich plot and multitude of characters, but I'll give you a concise overview. War and Peace is set against the backdrop of the Napoleonic Wars involving France and Russia. Despite its historical setting, it's not a history book, but rather a novel that explores life, death, and love. The story follows several aristocratic Russian families and a wide array of other characters. The narrative shifts between scenes of social life in Moscow and St. Petersburg and the harsh realities of war on the front lines. Through the experiences of characters like the idealistic Pierre Bezukhov, the strong and pragmatic Andrei Bolkonsky, and the compassionate Natasha Rostova, Tolstoy examines human existence and the timeless struggles that accompany it. Throughout the novel, Tolstoy develops themes of fate, free will, the chaos of war, and the search for meaning in life. The characters' personal stories of love, loss, and family are intertwined with the broader historical events, providing insights into the human condition and the nature of power. In the end, War and Peace paints a rich and complex portrait of life during a turbulent period in history, exploring the depths of human experience with philosophical insight. It's a lengthy read, but considered one of the masterpieces of world literature. Would you like more detail on any specific aspect of the novel?
How does blockchain technology work and what are its applications?
Certainly, I can explain that. Blockchain is a system of recording information in a way that makes it difficult or impossible to change, hack, or cheat the system. It's a digital ledger of transactions that is duplicated and distributed across the entire network of computer systems on the blockchain. Here's a simpler breakdown of how it works. 1. Transactions. First, a transaction occurs. It could be anything like a monetary transaction, a transfer of goods, or any action between two parties. 2. Blocks. Once a transaction is verified, it gets added to a block. A block is like a sheet in a ledger or a page of a book. It has a specific capacity. Once filled, it is sealed. 3. Chain. This sealed block is added to a chain of other blocks, which is a public record. Hence, it's called a blockchain. 4. Security. Each block has a unique code called a hash. It also contains the hash of the previous block in the chain. Changing information in one block would require altering all subsequent blocks due to these hashes, making it very secure. As for its applications, blockchain technology is known widely for its role in facilitating the emergence of digital currencies, like Bitcoin. But its potential extends far beyond that. 1. Financial services. Streamlines banking, payment systems, and even cross-border transactions, thanks to its security and speed. 2. Supply chain monitoring. Tracks goods from production to delivery, which improves transparency and reduces fraud. 3. Identity verification. Helps in securely verifying the user's identity, useful in voting systems or any scope requiring identity checks. 4. Property ownership. Provides a clear, unchangeable record of ownership for real estate, vehicles, or other assets. 5. Healthcare. Securely stores medical records that can be shared between entities, maintaining privacy and integrity. The adaptability of blockchain means it can be used in virtually any field to improve security and transparency. Its potential is vast and still being explored today. Would you like to delve into any specific application of blockchain?
Provide me a weather forecast for my location.
I'm sorry for the confusion, but I can't provide real-time updates or access current data like live weather reports. For the most accurate and updated information, I recommend checking a reliable weather reporting website or app. They use real-time data to provide current conditions and forecasts for your specific location. If you have any other questions or need information on a different topic, feel free to ask.
Can you calculate the square root of 144?
Absolutely. The square root of 144 is 12. This means that if you multiply 12 by itself, 12 by 12, you get 144. It's one of the simpler square root calculations. Anything else you're curious about?
Who is the current president of the United States as of your last update?
As of my last update in 2022, the President of the United States is Joe Biden. He assumed office on January 20th, 2021. However, keep in mind that my information might be outdated as it's now 2023, and I don't have the ability to access or retrieve real-time updates. For the most current information, especially in fast-changing contexts like politics, I recommend checking the latest sources or news outlets.
Describe the process of mitosis.
Of course, I can explain that. Mitosis is a process of cell division which results in two daughter cells, each having the same number and kind of chromosomes as the parent nucleus. It's key to growth, maintenance, and repair of tissues in living organisms. Here's a simplified breakdown of the stages. 1. Interphase. Though not technically part of mitosis, this is where the cell prepares for division by replicating its DNA and organelles. The cell is doing its normal day-to-day operations. Prophase, the first official step of mitosis. The chromosomes condense into X-shaped structures that can be easily seen under a microscope. The membrane around the nucleus dissolves away, releasing the chromosomes. 3. Metaphase, the chromosomes line up along the middle of the cell. Think of it like kids lining up in the middle of a classroom. Special structures called spindle fibers connect to the chromosomes, ready to move them. 4. Anaphase. This is where the action happens. The spindle fibers shorten and pull the paired chromosomes apart. The chromosomes are dragged to opposite ends of the cell, sort of like a tug of war. 5. Telophase and cytokinesis, the final stage. The cell starts to seal itself off, preparing to split in two. In telophase, new membranes form around the daughter nuclei while the chromosomes disperse and are no longer visible under the microscope. Cytokinesis is the actual splitting of the cell into two new identical daughter cells. And there you have it, that's mitosis. It's a complex dance of cellular machinery that ensures new cells are just like the old ones. It's essential for so many living processes, from growth to healing wounds. Do you need more detail about any of the stages?
No, that was pretty good.
I'm glad you thought so. If you have any more questions or there's something else you're curious about, feel free to ask.
What is
I'm here to help with any topic you want to explore.
What is the significance of the Pythagorean theorem?
It sounds like you're ready for a new topic or adventure. There's a universe of possibilities. We could dive into mysteries of space, the depths of the ocean, or the intricacies of the human mind. Or perhaps you're curious about technological advancements, ancient civilizations, art, or music. Just give me a hint of which direction you'd like to go, and we'll set off on this journey of exploration together.
What is the significance of the Pythagorean theorem?
The Pythagorean theorem is a fundamental principle in geometry discovered by the ancient Greek mathematician Pythagoras. It's incredibly significant for several reasons. 1. Understanding shapes and spaces. The theorem, which states that in a right-angled triangle, the square of the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle, is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, helps us understand the relationship between the different sides of a triangle. This relationship is expressed as a2 plus b2 equals c squared. 2. Practical applications. It's used in various real-world applications, such as engineering, construction, navigation, and even computer science. For example, architects use the Pythagorean theorem to calculate roof slopes, and navigation systems use it to find the shortest path between 2 points. 3. Foundation for other theories. The Pythagorean theorem laid the groundwork for later theories in mathematics and physics. It's essential in trigonometry and forms the basis of the distance formula in coordinate geometry. 4. Problem-solving tool. It's a critical tool for solving problems involving distances, angles, and coordinates. Whether you're measuring the height of a building, finding your location on a map, or working on complex scientific calculations, the Pythagorean theorem comes into play. In essence, the Pythagorean theorem is more than just a mathematical concept. It's an essential key that has unlocked countless doors throughout the centuries, in both theoretical and applied sciences. Would you like to explore any specific applications of the theorem?
No, but that is an excellent background on it, and I really appreciate it. Could you provide a brief overview of the history of the Roman Empire?
Certainly. The history of the Roman Empire is a monumental tale of the rise and fall of one of history's greatest civilizations. Here's a brief overview. Founding. The Roman Empire started in a sense when Augustus Caesar became the first emperor of Rome in 27 BC. Rome itself was already hundreds of years old, having been founded, according to tradition, in 753 BC. But it was Augustus's reign that marked its transformation from a republic to an empire. Expansion. Over the next few centuries, the Roman Empire expanded rapidly. It conquered territories across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. This period includes the Pax Romana, a time of relative peace and stability throughout the empire, which allowed for significant cultural, economic, and military advancements. Crisis. The 3rd century AD introduced a period of serious crisis known as the 3rd century crisis, or military anarchy. The empire faced external invasions, internal civil wars, economic collapse, and plague. The empire was stretched to its limits and began to fracture. Reform and division. In response to the crises, Emperor Diocletian and later Constantine the Great introduced reforms to stabilize the empire. This included dividing the empire into the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, in the late 4th century. Fall of the Western Roman Empire. Overrun by various migrating tribes and unable to maintain its territories, the Western Roman Empire gradually disintegrated. It is traditionally said to have fallen in 476 AD when Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire, was deposed. Byzantine survival, the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years until the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. It preserved much of Roman culture and law, serving as a bridge between the ancient and medieval worlds. The Roman Empire's history is foundational to the history of Europe and the Mediterranean. Its legacies in law, politics, language, architecture, and philosophy continue to influence the world today. There are many more intriguing details in each phase of the empire's history. Would you like to dive into a specific period or aspect of this empire?
No, but could you tell me how I can make the perfect omelet?
Of course, making the perfect omelet is an art form, but here are some simple steps to help you get there. Remember, practice makes perfect. 2. Heat your pan. Place a nonstick skillet on the stove and turn the heat to medium. Add a small amount of butter or oil, around a teaspoon should do. It's important not to have your heat too high, or the eggs will cook too quickly and become rubbery. 3. Add the eggs. Once the butter is melted or the oil is heated, pour in your beaten eggs. Let them sit for a few seconds until they start to set around the edges. 4. Add your fillings. Before the eggs are fully set, while the top is still a bit runny, add your fillings on one side of the omelet. Don't overload it, or closing your omelet will be tricky. 5. Let it cook. Allow the omelet to cook for another minute or so until it's mostly solid but still soft in the center. The residual heat will continue cooking it even after you remove it from the heat. So it's okay if it's slightly underdone. 6. Fold and serve. Here's the tricky part. Use a spatula to carefully fold one side of the omelet over the fillings. Then gently slide or flip the omelet onto a plate. Voila! You've got a classic omelet. Remember, making the perfect omelet often comes down to personal preference regarding its doneness and the fillings you use. And of course, practice makes perfect. Enjoy experimenting with different flavors, and happy cooking. Would you like tips on any specific variant or ingredient combination?
No, what is the Higgs boson and why is it important in physics?
The Higgs boson is a fundamental particle that was theorized in the 1960s by physicist Peter Higgs and others. It's often called the God particle because of its crucial role in the standard model of particle physics. Here's why it's important. 1 gives mass to other particles. The Higgs boson is associated with the Higgs field, an energy field that exists everywhere in the universe. Other particles acquire mass through their interaction with this field. Without it, particles wouldn't have the mass required to attract one another, and we wouldn't have the universe as we know it today. 2 confirms the standard model. Its discovery was a monumental confirmation of the standard model of particle physics, the theory that explains how the basic building blocks of matter interact. The Higgs boson was the last jigsaw piece of the model that was predicted, but hadn't been until 2012 at the Large Hadron Collider. 4. Potential for new science. While confirming the standard model, the characteristics of the Higgs boson also hint at new physics and theories beyond the standard model.
Calculate the factorial of 10.
The factorial of 10, often written as 10.
Describe the process.
10 is 9 is 8, x 7 is 6, 6 x 5 x 4 x 3 x 2 x 1. So let's multiply. 10 x 9, 9 down, 9 x 8 will 7, 2 down 7. 2 x 7, 5 to 4, 5 to 4 x 6 will 30 out 2 4 30. 240 x 5, 151 down 200. 151 200 x 4 equals 604 800. 604 800 x 3 equal 1814 down 400. 1814 4 down x 2 was 3 down 628 800. 3628 800 x 1 was 3628 800. The factorial of 10. 10 is 3628,800.
That's impressive.
It sounds like you're referring to the number 800. Is there something specific you would like to know or discuss regarding this number? Maybe a mathematical operation or some context related to it? I'm here to help.
No, I didn't say that, but could you describe the process of cell division in meiosis?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to explain meiosis, which is a special type of cell division crucial for sexual reproduction. Meiosis takes place in 2 sets of divisions, creatively called meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Both stages have similar phases as mitosis: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. But there are key differences. Meiosis 1 is where the magic happens. 1, prophase 1. This phase is much longer compared to mitosis. The chromosomes condense and pair up, which is unique to meiosis. Each pair involves a dance of sorts, where they might swap genetic material, a process called crossing over. This shuffle is essential because it creates genetic diversity. Metaphase 1. The chromosome pairs line up along the cell's equator. Unlike in mitosis, they do so in pairs, which is another unique aspect of meiosis. 3. Anaphase 1. The pairs are pulled apart by the spindle fibers. However, unlike mitosis, the sister chromatids stay together. And it's the homologous chromosomes, each coming from a different parent, that separate. 4. Telophase 1 and cytokinesis. The cell splits in two, but here's the kicker. No chromosome replication occurs between meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. That's why we end up with cells that have half the usual number of chromosomes. Meiosis 2 is similar to mitosis, but it's starting with half the number of chromosomes. 1. Prophase 2. The chromosomes, each still made up of 2 chromatids, condense again. 2. Metaphase 2. Chromosomes line up at the equator, like they do in mitosis. 3. Anaphase 2. The sister chromatids are finally separated, pulled to opposite sides of the cell. 4. Telophase 2 and cytokinesis. The cells divide again, resulting in 4 cells, each with half the original cell's chromosomes. The end game? 4 unique cells, each with half the number of chromosomes as the original cell. When these cells become sperm or eggs and join in fertilization, the regular chromosome number is restored, and the genetic variety is shuffled anew. It's nature's incredible way of ensuring genetic diversity. This whole process is what makes you, well, uniquely you. It sounds like you're responding or affirming something I said. Is there anything more you'd like to add, or any other topic you're curious about? I'm here to continue our conversation.
That was a great explanation. Can you tell me about a famous historical figure from ancient China?
He lived around 551 to 479 BC, which is often referred to as the Spring and Autumn period. Here's why he's memorable. 1. Philosopher and teacher. Confucius was primarily a philosopher and educator. His teachings focused on personal and governmental morality, correctness of social relationships, justice, and sincerity. 2. Confucianism. His ideas led to the creation of Confucianism, a system of philosophical and ethical teachings. It wasn't exactly a religion, but more a way of life, guiding people on proper behavior and ethics. 4. The Analects. Confucius's ideas were penned down by his disciples in the Analects, a collection that's considered the core work of Confucianism. Through these writings, his moral teachings and advocacy for strong familial loyalty, ancestor worship, and respect for elders by their children continue to influence family, educational, and public life. Confucius's emphasis on the importance of education and the role of the ideal gentleman or wise person continues to be a significant influence on Chinese and East Asian thought and values today. Would you like to learn more about his specific teachings or how they impacted society during and after his lifetime?
Can you explain how self-driving cars work and what their potential benefits and challenges are?
Absolutely. Self-driving cars, also known as autonomous vehicles, are a revolutionary technology in the field of transportation. Here's a simplified view of how they operate and some of their pros and cons. How they work. 1. Sensors and cameras. These vehicles are equipped with advanced sensors, cameras, and radar that scan the surrounding environment. 2. Software and decision-making. They use sophisticated software to process information from their sensors, which helps them identify objects, road signs, and traffic signals. The system makes decisions based on this data, allowing the car to navigate roads, avoid obstacles, and adhere to traffic laws. 2. Accessibility. They could provide mobility solutions for people who can't drive due to age, disability, or other factors. 3. Efficiency and convenience. These vehicles could optimize fuel efficiency, reduce traffic congestion, and free up time for passengers to relax or work while commuting. Challenges. 1. Technology and reliability. The technology isn't perfect yet. It must be reliable in diverse weather conditions and different driving environments. 2. Security and privacy. There are concerns about data privacy and the potential for vehicles to be hacked, raising security issues. 3. Ethical and legal issues. Questions about responsibility in the event of an accident and how a car's systems might make ethical decisions in complex scenarios are still being explored. 4. Employment. As autonomous vehicles become more common, there could be job losses in driving-related sectors. Self-driving cars have the potential to fundamentally change transportation. but their wide-scale adoption depends on overcoming significant technological, legal, and ethical hurdles. They're an exciting technology, but there's still a lot to consider before they become an everyday reality. Would you like more information about current real-world applications or the technology behind specific features?
Provide a brief overview of the theory of relativity by Albert Einstein.
It comes in two parts: the special theory of relativity and the general theory of relativity. Special relativity, 1905. This theory was introduced first and has two main ideas. One, the principle of relativity. The laws of physics are the same for everyone, regardless of how you're moving, as long as you're moving at a constant speed in a straight line. It's incredibly fast, by the way, about 186,282 miles per second. If you were on a spaceship traveling nearly the speed of light, time would pass more slowly for you compared to people on Earth. General relativity, 1915, about 10 years later, Einstein introduced the general theory of relativity, which deals with gravity and acceleration. He proposed that what we feel as gravity results from the way mass warps space and time, creating a curved path that other objects follow. Imagine putting a large ball on a trampoline. The ball creates a dip, and if you were to roll smaller balls near it, they'd spiral toward the larger ball. That's somewhat how gravity works in Einstein's view. Einstein's work continues to be a cornerstone in physics, making him one of the most influential scientists in history.
Translate the phrase carpe diem into English.
The Latin phrase carpe diem translates to seize the day in English. It's a famous expression often used to encourage someone to make the most of the present moment without fretting too much about the future.
What's the significance of the periodic table in chemistry?
The periodic table is a cornerstone of chemistry. It organizes chemical elements in a meaningful way, allowing scientists to predict and understand the properties of elements, how they interact, and their role in our universe. Here's why it's so significant. 1. Organization. It arranges all known elements according to their atomic number, the number of protons in the nucleus, and chemical properties. Elements in the same column, called groups or families, share similar characteristics. For example, elements in the same group often react similarly with other substances. 2. Predicting properties. By looking at an element's position, you can predict its properties, reactivity, and trends. These trends include atomic radius, electronegativity, and ionization energy. This predictive power was so strong that early versions of the table left gaps for elements that hadn't been discovered yet, predicting what those elements would be like. Number 3, understanding chemical behavior. It helps explain why certain elements react together and others don't. For instance, elements on the far left, alkali metals, are highly reactive with elements on the far right, halogens, but elements in the middle, transition metals, have moderate reactivity. 4, educational tool. It's an essential learning tool for students, helping them understand elemental relationships and chemical concepts. It lays the groundwork for advanced studies in chemistry, physics, biology, and more. In short, the periodic table is a fundamental framework in science, providing a tremendous amount of information at a glance and guiding the direction of scientific research. It's not just a list of elements, but a tool for understanding the building blocks of our universe. Would you like more details on any specific elements or groups within the table?
No, but thanks. Explain the principles of supply and demand in economics.
Certainly, supply and demand are foundational concepts in economics, describing how the availability of products, supply, and the desire for those products, demand, influence various factors, including the price. Here's a simplified breakdown. 1. Demand. This refers to how much quantity of a product or service is desired by buyers. The main idea is that when a product is in high demand, buyers are willing to pay more for it. But if there's less demand, they're not as willing to pay high prices. 2, supply. This is about how much the market can offer. It represents how much producers are willing and able to sell at different prices. Generally, the higher the price, the more suppliers are willing to produce. Factors like production costs, technology, prices of related good number of suppliers can affect supply. Now here's how they work together. Equilibrium. Supply and demand meet at the equilibrium point. Here, the quantity of goods demanded equals the quantity supplied. The price at which this happens is the equilibrium price, and it's often where the market naturally moves toward. Price changes. If demand increases and supply remains unchanged, then it leads to a higher equilibrium price and quantity. Changes on either side affect price and quantity, impacting decisions on what to produce, how much to produce, and at what price to sell. These principles play out in every aspect of the economy, from consumer goods to labor markets, and understanding them is crucial for businesses, policymakers, and consumers. Do you want examples or insights into how supply and demand play out in specific market scenarios?
No, what is the...
It seems like your message got cut off. Could you please repeat what you were saying or asking?
What is the Fibonacci sequence and what are its mathematical properties?
The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, usually starting with 0 and 1. So it goes like 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so forth. Each number in the sequence is called a Fibonacci number. This sequence isn't just a random set of numbers. It has fascinating properties and appears in various areas of mathematics and science. Here are some key mathematical properties. 1. Golden ratio. When you take any two successive Fibonacci numbers, their ratio is very close to the golden ratio, an irrational number approximately equal to 1.6180339874995. This ratio is often associated with pleasing proportions in art and architecture. 2. Adding squares. If you create squares with sides equal to each Fibonacci number, you can arrange them to form a spiral. This spiral appears in various natural formations, like the arrangement of leaves on a stem or the shape of certain shells. 3. Sum of sequence. The sum of the first n Fibonacci numbers is the n plus 2 nd Fibonacci number minus 1. 4. The pattern in remainders. When Fibonacci numbers are divided by a certain value, the remainders repeat in a regular pattern, which is a property used in modern computer data storage. 5. Occurrence in nature. Beyond mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence also appears in biological settings, like the arrangement of tree branches, the flowering of an artichoke, the fruit sprouts of a pineapple, and more. The Fibonacci sequence's properties extend into various fields like computer algorithms, financial market analysis, and even quantum physics. It's a beautiful example of how a simple pattern can produce complex and multifaceted structures and phenomena. Would you like to know more about any specific application or property of this sequence?
No, how does the human brain process and store memories?
The way our brains process and store memories is incredibly complex and involves several processes and brain areas. I'll give a simplified overview. 1. Encoding. First, we experience something. This stage is where the brain converts information from our experiences into a construct that can be stored. This process begins in the sensory areas, then moves to the hippocampus, where these constructs get stabilized in a short-term memory format. 2. Consolidation. This stage involves the transfer of short-term memory to long-term memory. The hippocampus, again, plays a key role here. It's like the brain's sorting center, deciding what's important based on emotional weight or repetition. Important memories get strengthened, often during sleep, when the brain is thought to replay the day's events. 3. Storage. Long-term memories are stored throughout the brain, but different types are stored in different areas. For instance, factual knowledge is stored in one area, while personal memories are in another. The cerebral cortex integrates sensory impressions with stored memories, gradually forming a new memory construct. 4. Retrieval. This is how we recall memories. The brain navigates through a network of associated memories based on similar emotions, sensory impressions, or other linked factors. This process involves various parts of the brain, depending on the memory's nature. 5. Forgetting. This is a natural part of memory processing. It helps us prioritize and keep relevant information accessible by letting go of more trivial details. Throughout all these stages, neurotransmitters play a critical role, facilitating the connections between neurons, synaptic plasticity, that make up the physical substance of memory. Memories aren't stored in the brain as books are in a library. They are more like unique patterns of interconnected neurons that are activated together. When a memory is formed, new connections are created, and existing ones are strengthened or weakened. This process is known as synaptic plasticity. It's also important to note that memories aren't static. They can change over time and can be influenced by newer experiences or even our emotions and environment while we recall them. This quality is why two people can remember the same event differently. The science of memory is still a rapidly evolving field, with researchers continuously uncovering new facets of how we remember and forget. Would you like to delve into any specific aspect of memory processing?
No, define the concept of ethics and its role in decision making.
Ethics refers to the moral principles that guide decision-making and behavior. It's about determining what is right or wrong, good or bad. And it often comes into play when people are faced with dilemmas where they need to consider the consequences of their actions on others. In decision-making, ethics plays a crucial role in many ways. 1. Guiding choices. Ethics serves as a compass. When individuals or companies face decisions that involve a conflict of interests, ethical principles help them prioritize what actions align with their values or societal expectations. 2. Building trust. When people act ethically, they build trust with others. For instance, in business, a company known for making ethical decisions will gain trust from its customers and employees. This trust is fundamental for long-term success. 3. Ensuring fairness. Ethical decision-making often involves considering fairness and justice. It asks whether decisions respect everyone's rights and if they distribute benefits and risks fairly among individuals or groups. 4. Promoting good. Many ethical frameworks emphasize the promotion of good and the prevention of harm. Decisions are weighed based on their ability to improve well-being or prevent harm, whether in immediate situations or considering future impacts. 5. Reflecting on society's values. Ethical decision-making also involves reflection on societal values and norms. Laws often reflect these, but ethics goes beyond legality, looking at what is morally right within the broader context of society's standards. 6. Responsibility and accountability. Making ethical decisions means taking responsibility for the consequences of one's actions. It involves accountability, where individuals or groups must be ready to explain their actions and potentially face consequences if their decisions harm others. Ethics isn't always about choosing a clear right or wrong path, especially in complex situations where different ethical principles may conflict. Instead, it's about navigating these situations with mindfulness of the broader impacts and taking responsibility for the decisions made. This process often requires a thoughtful balancing act, considering various stakeholders, outcomes, and moral principles. It's a fundamental aspect of functioning within a community or organization, maintaining social bonds, and ensuring that actions align with values that preserve societal cohesion and personal integrity. Would you like more details on a particular ethical framework or examples of ethics in a specific field?
No, solve the riddle. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?
You have reached the message cap for GPT-4. Please try again later.
Hello? Hello.
You have reached the message cap for GPT-4. Please try again later.